people say, you claim to be a software designer. What software have you designed that's deployed? Well, I had a number of nicely working programs in the 1970s, but they're on obsolete machines and obsolete languages. But there's one thing of mine, one invention of mine that you're familiar with. When I was on a regrettable project at Brown University, which resulted in the present structure of the World Wide Web back in 1966, I was talking about jumping. So you click on something and the screenful, we called it, is replaced by another screenful. I said, well, how will the user stay oriented? How will he know where he came from? And I said, that's simple. You put the addresses on a stack and give the user a back button. And so, dear friends, I believe I invented the back button, and it's in front of everybody, and you say, but that's obvious. Well, duh. Yeah, it was obvious, but only to me in 1956. And only because I was a media guy. The whole point is understanding the heart and mind of the user. And this is a problem that many technical people have trouble with. If you've ever seen an interface that was slightly opaque, if you've ever seen software that is difficult to use, why? It is because either the programmers don't understand the heart and mind of the user, or they didn't have time, or somebody else was in charge of the packaging, or something which led to there not being a very clear package. Now, who understands the heart and mind? Let's generalize it. What are movies? Movies are events on a screen that affect the heart and mind of the user, the viewer. What is interactive software? Events on a screen that affect the heart and mind of the viewer and interact and have consequences. How is interactive software different from movies? It's not. It's more than movies. So I claim that interactive software design is a branch of cinema, literally, because you should work backward from the way the user should see it, from what the user should feel, to make the technicalities come out right, not work up from your favorite technicalities and give the user incomprehensible buttons and choices. Now, there's one other person. I mean, there are a number of people who are good at this. I want to salute somebody that doesn't get very much credit in the technical community. There's one person who truly understands the heart and mind of the user, and that is Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs understands the heart and mind of the user. Bill Gates at least understands what a user is. And the Linux people don't have a clue. So we have here really a status issue. Who is in charge? Who is to be in charge? Because unless someone is in charge of the software who takes every detail of the presentation seriously, it becomes a tangle. And that is the hardest thing for the technical people to relinquish, because everybody thinks they can design an interface. Okay, well, enough of that. I don't have much more time. When I started out in this field, no individuals owned computers. They were only in air-conditioned rooms. I believe the entire computing power of the world was much less than that in an iPhone today. And you had to be in the right place and see the right things to imagine where it might go. And that was hard then, and it's hard now, because where are things going? Everybody has their own favorite technicalities. There are fads. Week after week, the magazines want a new slogan. So somebody's eager to get the new slogan. My favorite slogan is the Russian proverb, "In the news there is no truth, and in the truth there is no news." So, parallel documents. What we see is a parallel document, meaning visibly connected pages. Now, you can imagine them all in a flat plane, but the point is being able to find them, to follow these connections and see the parallel interconnections. But let's go through the litany. Where should footnotes be? Should they be at the end of a chapter, or should they be at the end of the book? No, they should be on the side. Where should comments be? Should they be at the bottom of a page? No, they should be on the side. Where should an outline be? Should it be tangled into, mashed into some kind of artificial hierarchy, so-called outline, which is very hard to use if your content is not hierarchical. If you want to see non-hierarchical writing, by the way, read The New Yorker. Very fine writing, and if you can find a hierarchy there, my hat is off to you. Where should an outline be? So you write the outline in one page, and then transclude the headings on through other pages. So here's the outline, here's the program, here's the comments on the program, here's the bug list, all side by side so you can follow the connections directly. What about history? Well, here's a history of, let's say, the Napoleonic War. What was Wellington doing? What was Napoleon doing? What was happening in Italy? They're all parallel, happening at the same time with connective events showing. And here's a nice example, I think. One of my favorite movies is called Back to the Future. And in this film we see Marty McFly, first in 1985, and then transported back to the time his parents were in high school, and finally at a dance called Enchantment Under the Sea, in which he's trying to get his parents back together so he'll be born. And parsing this and figuring this out, how do you diagram it? Well, you take the movie as given, that's your first page, and then you transclude its contents into another page, which is the sequence of events in imaginary world, in world one, etc. So all of these are sample parallel documents, which you just can't do with existing tools. Now why? Here's the rhetorical question. Why is it that you can't make marginal notes on electronic documents? And the answer most people give, because the technology does not allow it. Well, that's the first level answer. But what's the real answer behind that? The answer is because Chuck Simone and John Warnock and Tim Berners-Lee don't think you need it. And therefore, they didn't make formats that would allow it. And I do think you need it, and that's why our formats will allow it. So I'm not competing with the web. I'm just trying to create a document format for parallel interconnected documents of arbitrary size and structure that allow you, instead of going down to little bite-sized pages and bite-sized thoughts the way the web chews us down, the way Twitter chews us down to trivial thoughts, to create large-scale constructions of thought which can evolve and which represent the reasoned thinking of somebody being able to take content from many, many sources. And if I had time, we'd talk about the proposed copyright method and a whole lot of other stuff. But I think I'll just stop there, since we have time for Q&A, and thank you very much. At this point, a lot of people often want to persuade me that really everything is going to be done properly by somebody else. To which my example is Mazel Tov, and but meanwhile, I continue on my course.
Yeah, do we have any questions? Yeah, up there?
You said that you started this in like 1960 something?
1960 period, yeah.
So if there were 1,000 yous in 1960 thinking the same way, what do you think would happen?
And the fog is, I know what mistakes I made. And you can read about them, read all about them. Political errors at Data Point and at IBM and at Brown University and
But if you had 1,000 yous, you would need those collaborators, right?
I'm not following you. The biggest problem was I didn't become a programmer. A capable language was not available at such a time as I was young enough not to have to earn a living and to have time to learn to program. And if only I'd taken the time out somewhere along the line since then, but I never have. And I have to work through others, which is very painful. But I have no idea what 999 others of me would have done. I know that this is very much my wavelength, and I'm sure that however I'd learned about computers, I would have come to it, but I don't know.
Yes, over there.
So, my understanding of Xanadu is that you kind of have two-way, like, if I link to something on another server, that server is aware of the link.
No.
It's not.
No. Links are overlays. So if I link to the other document, that document can be brought up as part of the prong of that link. And by the way, they're two-way or n-way links, if you like. So each prong of the link can point somewhere else. But we can't inform the other document. Now, one of the reasons that, let me finish. One of the reasons Xanadu went aground in the 1970s, in the 1980s and 90s, was that we were trying to do all of that. We were trying to back notify, and the work that my collaborators did is absolutely brilliant, and I recommend it as an intellectual exercise, but that's where that killed the project.
Does this play into cap theorem? Meaning, when we talk about, if I have a big database, a database that's so big it doesn't fit on one computer, there's certain compromises that have to be made.
But that's not what we're talking about.
Okay. Are there any relations at all?
A link or an overlay. All right, a document is represented not by a URL, but by an EDL and an ODL. The EDL is a list of the pieces to collect and concatenate to make the contents. The ODL is a list of the links which are individually published, the links to apply to this content, which includes page breaks and paragraphs, but also overlays of any kind, comments, disagreements, endorsements, and so on. And so all of these are then applied. The link set of a given document is we don't know how big a list, but it's not a huge database. It's just the links of that document selected by that author. Wait, get their end here.
I don't get the problems that occur when I have data that is spread among multiple computers.
No.
Okay.
And again, would have, but the brilliant solutions of the XU88 and the XU92 systems are of great interest because they solved it rather brilliantly, but can't get into that here. Yeah.
Maybe I'm overlooking something, but this seems rather simple. Like, what are the difficulties that you run into?
What are the difficulties I run into? Well, in 1972, the backer withdrew his funds. In the 1979 system, the programmers almost got there, but they walked away one by one, leaving only Roger Gregory holding the bag. Then he sold off the development rights to Autodesk, and unfortunately he was replaced, and then it was taken over by the programmers who had no sense of time or money. And after 5 years, in 4 years they spent $5 million, and Autodesk discontinued the project. So those were the crashes of the two big ones. Since then, I've been doing the smaller ones and gotten to this point.
Right here.
So, are you familiar with After?
Yep.
So basically it tries to overlay embedded context links back to original quotes on top of the existing web. Is there a reason why this is fundamentally impossible in like HTML-based World Wide Web?
I don't think there's anything. I don't say there's anything impossible on the web. I just know what I want to do and what I don't want to do. I worked with, after having said that I wanted nothing to do with the web, I had to oversee a JavaScript project in November, and boy, do I never want to deal with that again.
Actually, right here.
Hi, is this something like your patents going on with developing technology? Is this something you've always felt you've known that you wanted to do, or have there been moments where you felt like you might have wanted to do something else?
Absolutely, I wanted to make films. You can see on the web I've got a couple of movies, or part of one and a short comedy. But unfortunately, I got waylaid by this, and to me this is more important. To me this is the biggest issue in civilization, right? This is more important than global warming. To me this is more important than global warming and disarmament.